You've been carrying the weight of so much responsibility for so long, and it feels like no one even notices, no one even appreciates it. You became a people pleaser to stop everything falling apart. Everyone can rely on you, but you don't feel like you can rely on other people. And whether they do it on purpose or unconsciously isn't important because you can't control other people. You can only focus on yourself. Most of you, I think, are already aware that the kind of love or the kind of neglect that we receive in childhood, um, those end up being the types of relationships that we get into as adults. Even though it's painful, it's familiar. And I did a video on that a while ago. I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen that one yet. And over time, you start to see the same pattern play out over and over again. It's the overgiving, the sacrificing, losing yourself, neglecting yourself. Why do we do this? And why is it so difficult to break out of a pattern that causes you so much pain? To understand these patterns and actually change them, you have to be willing to have an identity crisis. You can't change other people. You can't convince someone to be an equal partner if they don't want to be an equal partner. You can't convince your parents to be good parents. You can't convince your siblings to be supportive. You can't convince friends to be a better friend if they're benefiting from your people pleasing. This is the part that most people don't want to hear. And if you click away now, that's fine. I get it. It's uncomfortable. But they are not the one keeping you trapped in this cycle. It is your own identity that is keeping you trapped in this cycle. You are not helpless and you're not weak. The locus of control is not in them, it is within you. And I know the exact feeling of like, well, they need to do this and they need to do that and they need to help more and they need to be more sensitive and they need to care more. You are giving away your power. You're putting the locus of control, you're taking it from being inside you and you're giving that power to someone else. You can't change them. If they don't want to change, they're not going to change. People only ever do what they want to do. You are the one with the power. Not power over others, power over yourself. Strange as it might seem, the animal that has some answers to your problems is the snake. Now, the snake gets a bad reputation. I was born in Queensland, so we have a lot of venomous snakes there. But the thing about snakes that's so different to us is that as we grow, our skin grows with us. It stretches, it expands, it grows with us. As snakes grow, their skin doesn't stretch, it doesn't grow with them. As you know, I'm sure you've probably seen snake skins before. Um, they have to shed their skin. And it's not as simple as just the way we would change our clothing. It's easy, it's painless. I'm assuming it should be painless. Um, it's not particularly uncomfortable. It takes you a few seconds and then you're done. A snake, the process of shedding their skin, it's extremely uncomfortable. The skin gets itchy, it gets tighter and tighter the more they grow. Eventually, they have to shed the skin, but it's very uncomfortable. It can even be painful for them. But if they don't shed the skin, If they think, oh, well, shedding the skin is too uncomfy, is too painful, it can be life threatening. They get stuck in this old skin, right? So even though it's uncomfortable and painful, they do it anyway because the snake knows I have to deal with this short term discomfort, short term pain, so that I can feel fresh, so I can be more of myself by getting rid of this old skin that I don't need anymore. And we develop skins, in a sense. There's a lot of skin in this video. Um, we develop skins over the years throughout our childhood. We develop sort of armor. We develop identities and personas that keep us safe from certain situations. And as you get older, you learn that you have to let go of certain identities that are keeping you stuck. So the snake knows that it has to choose its suffering. There is no option that doesn't involve suffering, but there are different levels of suffering. There's different duration of the suffering. You can choose short term suffering, voluntary short term suffering, where you shed this old identity, you grieve the past, and you let go of it, or you stay stuck in the old skin, which is comfortable in a way because it's familiar. You know this old skin. You've been in this old skin for a very long time. You're familiar with it. There's a certain comfort in that, but there is also long term suffering. So choose your suffering. The way you start this process of shedding, you listen to the stories that you tell yourself about who you are, about your role in the world. Let me know in the comments if you relate to any of these. I'm going to give you a little short list of a few that I used to tell myself, that I've heard other people telling themselves. And some of these might trigger some uncomfortable or even painful emotions, but just like the snake does, sit through it. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. It's okay. So it can be stories like, I have to do everything all the time. I'm the only one that does anything around here. I can't rely on anyone. Nobody cares. As you go about your day over the next week, I want you to listen to those thoughts, listen to those stories, those identity thoughts. Don't judge them. Just listen. You remember the tiny scientist from one of my other videos? A lot of you loved the tiny scientist. Not what I was expecting. Some of you are writing saying that, oh, now that I'm aware of my tiny scientist, I've given him a pay rise and he's having pizza Fridays. And honestly, you guys cracked me up. It was so funny. So bringing back tiny scientist again. I love my tiny scientist. So if you don't know tiny scientist, you've got a little door here in your forehead, a tiny door. You open the door and you look inside, and there's a tiny scientist in a tiny white lab coat with a tiny clipboard, and they're writing down tiny notes. And they're just there to share those notes with you. Tiny Scientist doesn't judge. Tiny Scientist makes observations because Tiny Scientist understands the scientific method because he has a tiny degree, right? And he or she understands that we all have our own biases. We all have our own flaws in our logic. So we just observe. We observe and we don't judge. So the first step to a successful identity crisis is to discipline your own mind. Just like a game of cards, you get a good hand, you could get a really terrible hand. That's always fun. You don't have any power over the kinds of thoughts that pop up into your mind. You can only choose what you do with them. So when the thought comes up that tells you, I'm the only one that ever does anything around here, challenge that thought. Listen, don't judge. I don't doubt for a second that you are feeling overburdened, exhausted, maybe fed up even. Or you wouldn't have stuck around to this point in the video. You would have clicked away about 7 seconds in, right? You know that you need to hear this. That's why you're here. But is it really true that you're the only person who ever does anything? As much as we can feel frustrated by each other, there's a lot to be said for looking for things to be grateful for and acknowledging those things out loud, communicating those things. But sometimes we really do surround ourselves with people who are lazy, entitled, and narcissistic, ungrateful. Why? Why do we do that to ourselves? Because it confirms your identity. This is why you have to listen to those thoughts. This is why you have to listen and allow the tiny scientist to help you identify these thoughts, these identity thoughts, the stories you tell yourself about who you are in relation to others. Because when we tell ourselves this story that we're this martyr, that we're alone with our burdens, that no one cares, that no one wants to help, when you're in that mindset, what kind of people do you think you're going to be drawn to? People who confirm that identity, who act out the opposite side of that role, right? People who take and take and take and never give anything in return other than breadcrumbs. I also have a video about breadcrumbs. I'll put that in the description. When you're in the habit of always neglecting your own needs, abandoning yourself, and not having any meaningful boundaries, what kind of people do you think will be drawn to you? People who benefit from you not having any boundaries. People who don't really care about you. People who only want to extract from you, and they will extract limitless free therapy, housekeeping, cooking, cleaning, maybe financially. And it will leave you feeling exhausted, resentful, and like you're totally alone with all of this responsibility placed on your shoulders because they know that this is the dynamic, because that's your identity. If they slack off, you'll. What's he doing? If they slack off, um, you'll pull the slack. What's the saying? Cut the slack? No. I'm having a brain fart. I identify as a brain fart. What's the word, Pooh Bear? Tell me. Tell me, wise one. Can I have a kiss? Thank you. Uh, if they slack off, you'll make up for it. Please tell me in the comments, what is that saying? It's, it's right on the tip of my tongue. The shedding an old identity requires new boundaries, and boundaries without consequences are completely meaningless. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. If I feel like someone isn't pulling their weight in a friendship or a relationship, I always give the benefit of the doubt. I assume that they either are unaware of my needs, unaware that I've been doing more than my share of the work recently. Maybe they've been busy, maybe they've been stressed, maybe they've been struggling with something. I always give the benefit of the doubt, right? And I just communicate clearly without any accusations. I don't come in like a bull in a china shop with all the, you never do this, you always do that, right? I did that in my 20s, okay? Right. Guilty. Guilty. I did that in my 20s. I haven't done that sort of thing for a long time. You learn. We learn. Like no accusation, just hey, could you help me with this? And that's it. Like no dragging up the past, nothing. Just hey, could you help me with this? And they then have the choice. And this comes down to just respecting other people's choices. They can say no. That's fine. I'm not going to stomp my feet. I'm not going to throw a tantrum. I'm not going to get all upset and indignant. I'll just go, oh, okay, that's fine. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they don't feel like it. That's fine. But when you get to a point where they consistently won't help with things, consistently do the bare minimum, consistently do a careless job when they do help, and they do such a bad job that you're just going to have to do it yourself anyway. You ask them to do the dishes, and I mean, there's just visible food and grease and crap all over the plates. They break 3 cups, and there's no reason for it. You know, weaponized incompetence is a real thing. We all know this. When I see that consistently, that is the majority of the time, that's what's happening. I respect their decision. I respect that this relationship, this friendship, whatever it is, means so little to them that they don't want to put in an equal amount of work. I respect that. That's fine. That is clear communication as far as I'm concerned. And I just walk away. I give less and less and less. I don't make up the distance that they've created. And as I've learned this, as I've shed that old identity, I'm still in many ways still the same person. It's not about taking on a totally new personality like a shapeshifter or something. It's not shedding all your values at the drop of a hat and taking on all these new values. It's just identifying little parts of yourself and you think, that's not healthy. I need to let that go. And so I did. And I did it really just out of desperation because I was so exhausted. I mean, to the point, when I say I was exhausted, I mean literally exhausted. Like, I ended up in hospital several times. I suspect that exhaustion is part of the reason that I ended up with the tumor. I don't know if you can see my scar goes along there. You can't really see it in this camera. It's not a very good camera. Um, I have a feeling that's part of the reason. Just the stress, the overwhelm from years and years and years and years and years of overgiving, having no boundaries, having no self-respect. And I learned to establish these boundaries out of just absolute desperation because I thought, what the hell am I doing with my life? Why am I treating myself like this? Why am I abandoning myself like this? Why am I treating myself like a doormat? Why am I allowing these types of people into my life? And I had to realize that it's because I had this identity of being an empathetic person, being a nice person, being an understanding person, being a forgiving person. Such a good girl. I was such a good girl. Not that I was saying I was perfect, far from it. I was deeply resentful of so many things. And that's what happens. That's the dark side of the people pleasing. It's not all love and light and look at what an empath I am. When you're not taking care of yourself and you're not respecting yourself and your own needs, you will become so resentful. You will become passive aggressive. You'll become self righteous. neglected needs that you have, they have a way of bubbling up to the surface no matter how hard you try to suppress them, right? And so it was that identity that I had to let go of because it was causing me more pain long term than the pain of going through a short term identity crisis. And when I say short term, I mean it was like a good year or so, right? It wasn't over in an afternoon. Okay, you got to choose your suffering. You can choose a lifetime or you can choose a few months, a few years. Why are you breathing down my neck? Do you want to talk to the YouTubies? I don't really want to kiss right now. What have you been eating? Hmm? Your breath smells. So I had to let go of that identity. And who I am now, I'm to this day, I'm still the kind I love helping people. I love seeing their little face light up, when you've done something thoughtful for someone, or you hold the door open for a stranger, or you let them in traffic, or whatever. Even sometimes I'm just walking through the shop and I see like some woman, she's wearing a really pretty dress. I'll stop her. I'll be like, oh my god, that is so cute. Where did you get that from? Because it why not? Brightens their day. We have a little chat. We have a little giggle together and be all girly for about 15 seconds, and then off we go. We go and do our shopping, and we never see each other again. Why not? Why not find little ways to feel a bit of joy throughout the day? But my ability to give has increased massively. I give without expectation of return. I give without resentment because this version of me has boundaries. And when I feel someone overstepping a boundary, um, I will politely, most of the time, let them know. Mm-mm. And if they continue to overstep or they start trying to guilt trip, manipulate to get what they want, throwing a little tantrum, throwing their toys out of the pram, acting like, oh, you're not being nice, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You have to not care. But in order to not care, you have to let go of this identity of what a nice person you are. Don't be nice. Grow some teeth. Shed that old skin. Because the new identity, the real you that is loving and giving and understanding and generous, that version of you has to be protected in order to remain loving and soft and giving. And just like a castle has to have walls, what is that? Oh my god, I don't know if that was a pine cone or an owl poop. I forget what they're called. Owl nut or something. Oh my god, no. I wish I hadn't said that. Owl nut. Um, let's move on. Like a castle has to have walls, right? Castle without walls gets plundered, it gets set on fire, it gets burnt to the ground, it gets vandalized, right? And then what good is it to anyone? You can't take safety in a castle, you can't take refuge in a castle that's been plundered and vandalized and burnt to the ground. It's useless. You become effectively useless, an empty shell, when you don't protect yourself. How can you then be there for people who really need it and for people who would actually genuinely appreciate you and respect you in return? You can't be there for them because you're too burnt out people pleasing and not taking care of your own needs. So when my tiny scientist comes knocking on the door, and he says, "Oh, we've got some identity thoughts coming in." Rah, 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 rah. The alarm system goes off. What? What's happening? It's probably a deer or something. The alarm system goes off. Wee woo, wee woo. That's not nice. That's not forgiving. Like, bitch, please, I've given this person 573,000 tries. I've given them so many chances. I've communicated my boundaries. How many more times can I repeat myself that I don't like being gaslit? They know what the hell they're doing. The thing is, because people like that, because that's their identity, right? They surround themselves with other people pleasers. You are just one of many, right? You're not special. You are one of many people pleasers that they flip between. People who will, um, whatever it's called, what's the word for it? Enabling. People who will enable them. They're so used to getting their own way that when you step out of that role and you think, you know what, I have my own needs, actually. I have my own preferences. I don't like it being spoken to like that. I don't like being accused of something I didn't do. I don't like your tone. I think you're being really condescending. I don't appreciate that. When you step out of your role and you stop fucking groveling and apologizing for things you haven't even done, and you move away from that people pleasing, they will try to whip you back into shape. They'll try to whip you back into line and get you back into your role, into your little I don't know, pigeonhole. Is that the word? Pigeonhole. Boys. Oh, there they are. Found something to sniff. But if you refuse, you shed this old identity. A part of that process, and the most painful part, is that there are some people that you will have to let go of along with it, because, and it's not everyone, it's just the people who benefit from your people pleasing persona. PPP. I love alliteration. I love when it happens by accident. Oh, beautiful. These people who benefit from your people pleasing persona, they're the ones that will get upset because they're the ones that benefit from it. And if someone doesn't want you to grow, doesn't want you to respect yourself, doesn't want you to take care of yourself, and wants you to just lay yourself down across a puddle so they don't get their little tootsies wet, like, do they actually care about you? Or are they just using you? Like, come on. You know the answer to this. You don't need me to tell you. You know, you know these people, right? It's very, very painful letting go of people. I hate doing it, but I have done in the past, and I will continue to do in the future when it's necessary. I do find, though, recently, last couple of years, I just don't tend to draw those people in anymore. They start to get to know me, and they just go, mm. Because I'm not confirming their identity to them, that they're the center of the universe, right? I show up, I'm interested in them, I will help them out with different things, but I'm myself. I am my own person. I have my own schedule, got the wolves, I got other things I'd rather be doing sometimes, like sitting on my ass drinking a beer. Sometimes that's what I want to do, right? Sometimes I don't want to help you with something. I'm tired. Okay. Hey, buddy. And when they see that I take up just a little bit of space in the world, not a huge amount, Just enough. And they realize that I'm not that person. I'm not going to be subservient. I got my own ideas, I got my own thoughts and opinions. And this is not 1930, so they can't lock me up in an asylum or give me a lobotomy anymore. Those people, they will just be repulsed by you. Once you start really showing up and you stop abandoning yourself, they'll be repulsed by you. They won't be around you anymore. And that will give you this fear of rejection and fear of being alone. And you will be rejected by them. And you just have to accept it, deal with it, choose your suffering. Imagine how nice it is to be rejected by someone. Reframe this in your head right now. How good would it feel to be rejected by someone who doesn't care about you? Great! How good! More space for actual friends that give a shit about us. How good is that? It doesn't mean you don't love someone. This could be someone that's been in your life for a long time. It could be people you grew up with, family. It's not easy. I mean, I joke around, but it's a lot easier said than done. It is very, very painful. Um, it doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that loving them in the way that they need to be loved, which is very one sided, that would be an act of not loving yourself. That would be an act of neglecting yourself in order to keep the relationship together. Letting go of people doesn't mean you don't love them, it means you have limits. Know what your limits are, feel them. You can feel them. Don't silence them, listen to them. Having limits doesn't make you weak. It's actually difficult. It's more difficult to have limits and to have boundaries and to enforce them. To say no is much more difficult short term. Choose your suffering. It's more difficult short term. It's much better long term. The strength that takes. That's when you can help the most people. When you learn to love yourself and respect yourself. Now, I've just put my website up. I've got my ebook called Awakening the Wild Woman. There's over 40 journaling prompts in there. I'm going to share 3 of them with you that are relevant to this. So do these journaling prompts over the next week or so. Don't rush through them, just one at a time. Take a day or two. Think about it when you're in the toilet, pooping, okay? What part of me is dying so that something else can be born? When have I silenced myself to be accepted? How do I feel in my body today? Where does it crave freedom? So that's 3. Got 3 prompts. I'll put them in the comments. I'll pin a comment. When you do these, if you want, save this video, come back to it. Do these journaling prompts and share them with me in the comments, because your comments, honestly, is what keeps me making these videos. I know I haven't made a video for I think it must be months. I've been very naughty. Okay. Very naughty. um, but your comments really is what makes me want to make more and more videos, because I love talking to you guys in the comments. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing the similarities that we have. I love hearing the differences that we have and the way that we think about different things. And that would mean so much to me if you want to share something in the comments. So you can get my ebook at my website. I will put a link in the description. It is $3.99 at the moment. That's pounds. Pounds, not dollars. It's roughly the same anyway. So go and download that. If you like these prompts and want some more, go and download them and get to know your tiny scientist, right? He's always in there. She's always in there. Always listening. Always trying to help you out, right? You want to say goodbye? No, don't lick. You just say hello. Oh, you're giving a kiss. Oh, that's nice. You're giving YouTubies a kiss. You're a good boy. See you next time.